Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing a GeForce RTX 5090 in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion Remastered. This one is the Founders Edition model of the card. I am running it with the latest Nvidia drivers as usual, and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power-Ups GPU Z, and over on the left, I am pairing it with a Ryzen 7 9800X 3D and 32GB of RAM. And by the way, this has all of the ROPs. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? And well guys, this is actually looking really pretty. The graphics seem to be really good in this game, and well, it doesn't really run all that well. Unfortunately, it's dropping into the 40s already with an RTX 5090 because it's UE5, I guess. Yes, my friends, we got another case of UE5 in our hands right now, but I mean, we have all of the bells and whistles enabled right here. I'm gonna show it to you. We're at 4K resolution, utilizing the maximum settings. All right, everything is set to the ultra setting here. Lumen hardware ray tracing is also turned on, and we're at native resolution, utilizing DLEA as the anti-aliasing. So obviously it's going to be extremely intensive at 4K native with the ray tracings and stuff like that. Of course, for a $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 GPU, it should do 60 plus all of the time, even at native resolution, I guess, with ray tracings and so on. But I mean, ray tracing is super demanding. You gotta keep that in mind. But let's start counting our FPS right here. Actually, I just got off of the tutorial part of the game, and we're here just walking around, getting some little stutters here and there because UE5, amazing, right? But again, guys, like, the game is looking really pretty right now. Draw distance is actually really good as well. Like, you can see trees from really far away with almost full quality. I mean, I can't really tell the difference, honestly. Yeah, LOD seems to be awesome. It's not like that Stalker 2 game, you know, where you don't really see a tree being rendered properly 20 meters away from you. So that's nice. We're inside of the city, getting higher FPS since we're not seeing like vegetation and stuff like that. It's actually a little bit less intensive around here. The lighting is looking really pretty, actually, guys. I mean, compared to the previous Oblivion, which I haven't actually played, honestly. Yeah, I know I should, but
What is it?
I've seen a lot of videos on it, of course, and Random Gaming in HD actually has a nice comparison in his channel now. Yeah, this is night and day, my friends. But let's go back outside. I'm noticing that whenever there's an autosave, there's also a little bit of a stutter. So yeah, that will happen from time to time. I have disabled the waiting autosaves. I guess if you stand still for a while, it will autosave. This one wasn't an autosave, by the way, but I disabled that so we can actually get some decent 1% lows. Okay, let's just go down there. I'm losing some HP already. That's terrible. Getting 50s around here. In terms of like the reflections, not all of the stuff is reflected. As you can see, like the leaves on the trees aren't being reflected or ray traced, actually, and that's why whenever those trees are off the screen, we don't see the vegetation or the leaves of them being reflected in the water. So yes, Lumen is enabled, hardware ray tracing is enabled, but it's not working for all of the things on screen. But anyway, that's like a minor little issue. The biggest issue that I've seen... Oh my god. Well, now that's the new biggest issue that I've seen. Okay. What the hell? It was flickering a lot. Okay, kill this bastard. There we go. Good stuff. All right. But anyway, aside from that flickering problem, which I don't know what caused it, okay, I have noticed that the reflection of the sword... It's flickering again. Okay. The reflections of the swords are not very well made, as you can see. From a hardware ray traced game with Lumen, UE5 and stuff, I expected those reflections to be accurate, but they're not really accurate. Those are screen space reflections, basically, which are still enabled, okay? So that's normal, I guess, but they should have paid a little bit more attention to that, in my opinion. All right, we got some stuff over here. Let's pick this up. Stone door. I'm not sure if I want to get out of this area, actually. Let's explore a little bit more. Kill this bastard. Hello. That was quick, actually. Okay. And now let's steal his food and stuff. Also, take a look at... What am I doing? Okay. Take a look at the fire effects right here. Not too high quality, but they're definitely good looking. I mean, it's a very pretty game, once again. I really like the graphics here. I just hate the stuttering, but I actually knew that would happen after seeing that the engine is UE5. But it is playable, at the very least. I mean, we're using a top-of-the-line PC, so of course it's playable, right? If it wasn't playable, there would be a major issue. Anyway, this is quality DLSS. It's not DLSS 4. I didn't override it in the Nvidia app over here. So this is just the native implementation of it. And I can definitely notice some differences here in terms of the visuals. It's a little bit softer, not to the point where it matters, honestly, but I'm actually going to increase the sharpening just a little bit. Like 20% sharpness. Here we go. And that makes it look a little bit better for sure. So this is very close to the native resolution stuff in terms of visuals with DLSS, even though, again, it's not DLSS 4. And now we are above 60 frames per second pretty much at all times, aside from when it stutters, of course. But I mean, yeah, that's just going to lower our 1% lows like right now to 4 because I opened the chest. What is this? Hello, buddy. How's it going? Okay, that was weird. It looked like a statue, actually. Okay. Anyway, let's keep on going, exploring the world here. I'm actually going to restart the counting system because those 4 FPS 1% lows aren't too accurate, just because of that little menu again. So I'm going to avoid opening chests from now on. Again, like, it's looking great here in UE5. Goodbye, sir. Thank you. What do you have here for me? Can I loot some stuff? Is this his hideout or something? Yes, probably. There we go. So we got stone cup. Yeah, definitely gonna grab that, of course. I need stone cups to drink my ale and mead with, right? But yeah, guys, as you can see, there's no going around the stutters and fixing the stutters, unfortunately. But aside from that, it gets 60 plus all of the time, and it is a very, very good experience. Of course, as it should be on a freaking 5090 PC with a 9800X 3D. In terms of power consumption, though, yeah, it's very high, as you can see, 400 plus watts, even with DLSS, which lowers things down by a little bit in terms of wattage. But yeah, for Jesus Christ, what the heck? These stutters, man. For the power utilization that it's getting right now and DLSS quality and stuff, hello. No, please don't kill me. Don't kill. I don't want anything to do with you, okay? Buddy, I want you to live. God damn, okay, never mind. I hate killing these little animals and stuff. It's so bad. I mean, oh boy, at least it wasn't Jack, right, my friends? Is there a Jack in this game? Because I don't know about that, and I would love to see Jack. I think I'm just gonna let Jack kill us if we come across him, you know? Because I don't want to start on the wrong foot with Jack. Okay, yeah, we got a little bit of a forest area here, dropping down into the 70s, mid-70s and stuff. Really good stuff, obviously. Again, for the price of the GPU, I wish it was 100 plus FPS, but yeah. All right, let's stop it there and let's try some frame generation, I guess. Automatic. Okay, so we can't really adjust the type of FG 3 times, 4 times, 2 times. So I guess it's just going to use 2 times out of the box. Or, yes, that's 2 times, okay. The frame time graph is a little bit different whenever it's 4 times FG. So this is 2 times FG with DLSS quality as well, so we have a good baseline FPS and we don't feel much input lag, you know. Let me bring up the FPS counter there on the top right corner from Nvidia so we can see the latency. And now we don't really have any numbers to compare the latency to without frame generation, so I guess I'll just stop right here, getting like around 43 milliseconds of latency, 40 to 43, I guess. But let's disable the frame generation and check out the latency without it. And here we get 55. I know why this is happening. The latency is actually higher without frame generation here, because without frame generation, we don't have the reflex enabled, and the FG actually enables that. So if we do enable reflex right here, we see the latency drop down to like 34 milliseconds, 35, 36. So it's going back up to 41. Okay, but mostly it's like around 35 milliseconds, I guess, with 70 FPS. Feels really responsive, obviously, but so does the frame generation. So you just gain around, what, 5 milliseconds of input lag by turning on the frame generation. So it's definitely worth it here in this particular title. It just smooths things by a whole lot. There is no major, like, ghosting and artifacting that I can notice, at least. So it looks pretty good still. Hello, lady. How's it going? I'm sorry, I scared you. Yes. There's Roach though. We really need to get Roach. Can we just break all of the? Oh, open the gate. Of course. Why do I think of breaking things every single time? Like we should just be polite, right? And steal horses by opening the gates. Yes. Let's go, Roach, buddy. Thank you. Okay, we can't go first person here, apparently. Yeah. Will she say something about the stolen horse? No? Hello. Okay. So we found ourselves Roach. That's very nice. Unfortunately, I can't count the FPS in MSI Afterburner, by the way, because the 1% lows will be completely wrecked, like 41, 42 right there. Those aren't accurate whatsoever. The accurate 1% lows are from the top right in the Nvidia overlay. This is just to do with how that frame time graph is showing right now. It looks like it's a stuttery mess, and it is because, well, the stutters are still happening, but the reason why it's like this is because of the new flip metering technology and where they've paced the frames on the pipeline. So previously, without frame generation and with the previous version of frame generation, they would actually paste the frames on the CPU side of things, and that happens before the MSI Afterburner overlay takes place and counts our FPS, and now with the flip metering technology, that happens afterwards. So go by the 1% lows on the top right once again. They're pretty good most of the time, like 100s, but whenever a stutter happens... What the heck are you? Oh, it's a big rat. Okay. Whenever a big stutter happens, of course, those 1% lows are going to drop a lot, but that's not due to the system or frame generation or CPU or whatever. Yeah, 26, 1% lows there. It's just because of the engine. 99% of games on UE5 do stutter, and it is a big shame, guys. So part of the problem is definitely UE5, I guess. And most of the problem is probably coming from the developers not really optimizing things properly. Although, these guys actually have done a shader compilation feature. Before you launch the game, there is shader compilation, and it supposedly helps a lot with these stutters and stuff, but it still happens, guys. Big world to explore, looks great. The lighting is fantastic as well with that lumen stuff enabled. It's pretty good. The wolf is actually sliding right there. Okay, come on, come on. But yeah, you get the idea. Enable frame generation 2 times. You'll have a high refresh rate experience with a little bit of stuttering here and there, unfortunately, but it's still a high refresh rate experience. So, what else should we try? Like DLAA plus frame generation, maybe, right? So this is native resolution, and on top of that, we're using the frame gen 2 times. So previously, this would be dropping from 60 FPS, and if you divide our FPS by half, it gets like 40s and 50s, which is what we were getting. But in terms of latency, surprisingly, even when the FPS dropped down to like the 90s, it's only at 45 to 50 milliseconds of latency most of the time. So that's actually really good, guys. That is surprisingly responsive still, and I don't think anyone will complain about the input lag that you get usually with the frame generation in this title, even with the DLAA. So a baseline of 45 plus frames per second will do wonders in Oblivion, apparently, with the frame generation enabled on top of that. Again, it's really smooth of an experience now. It still looks great. I mean, it looks better than quality DLSS. Obviously, this is native resolution just with the anti-aliasing from DLSS, hence DLAA, Deep Learning Anti-Aliasing. And the 2x FG just smooths things out so much without adding major input lag that this is definitely the way to go, my friends. I think, for example, with Alan Wake 2, without any frame generation, you know, if you have a baseline of 70 frames per second, for example, you'd be seeing higher latency than this game right now with 2x frame generation on top of a baseline of 50 FPS. So that's really nice, okay? It feels really responsive still with that FG enabled. And I can definitely recommend, I will definitely recommend frame gen in this particular title. Now let's disable the frame generation and play at 1440p resolution next, 2560 by 1440. So here we have it, 2560 by 1440 resolution right now, utilizing the same ultra settings, maxed out everything, Lumen hardware ray tracing on, and on ultra as well, and we're with DLAA, and let's confirm that, all right. So, yes guys, I don't know why this always happens, but playing at 1440p in this monitor that I'm using always sets the vibrancy to 200%. But I don't know why that happened. I really don't. But anyways, focus on the FPS. Alright, that's what you're here for, I guess. And to see some terrible gameplay by me. I mean, you can't really expect much more than terrible gameplay, honestly. Anyway, we're getting 60s sometimes, 70s most of the times. It is above 60 frames per second, and it is 1440p native resolution. But a card of this caliber should definitely... Oh, look at that. Roach is swimming. He knows how to swim in this game. That's awesome, actually. And you see the animation as well. That's pretty nice. Okay. But again, from a $2,000 top-of-the-line GPU, like this is the best GPU in the world right now for gaming. And it's dropping into the 60s at 1440p. I feel like a 5070 is the one that should be dropping into the 60s, okay, not from 60, at 1440p maximum settings, because that's a 1440p GPU, supposedly, and, I mean, it should deliver 60 plus FPS in all games, but again, it's probably because of that ray tracing. Single-player title with gorgeous graphics, real-time lighting is actually really nice. I saw the shadows just popping in as the sun goes down there. Really good. Oof. It's dropping from 60 FPS, guys. With a 5090 at 1440p. Damn. Remember when, like, the 30 series came out and those GPUs were just complete beasts, right? Not with ray tracing, obviously, but they were delivering amazing experiences. Even 3070 at 1440p resolution. 3060 Ti at 1440p resolution. Really great stuff. And now these just don't seem as powerful, even though they are very, very powerful, you know, especially on the high end, 5090, 5080, 4090, and stuff like that, 4080 Supers, because these games have gotten to a point where optimization is just not a priority anymore. It's like we got the raw power with the 40 series, 4070 and up, I guess, because 60s and 60 Ti weren't really as big of an improvement, unfortunately, compared to the 30 series. But yeah, we got awesome hardware, really fast stuff, so they're just slacking now. Yeah, it will handle it. Yeah, just slap some DLSS, some frame generation. It's gonna be fine. I mean, mostly it is fine. It's still a good experience here. But if you want that native resolution stuff, especially with maxed out settings and ray tracing, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to DLAA right here, enable frame generation, because quality DLSS at 1440p is a bit more noticeable, you know. And I just loaded the previous save game because, well, I want it to be daytime so we can actually tell a difference in terms of graphics. And, you know, it's much easier to see imperfections in the graphics while it's daytime. At nighttime, it's just dark, you know. So yeah, here we go. 1440p with the 2x frame generation becomes the experience that a $2,000 GPU should do at native, you know. But I mean, again, in terms of visuals, it looks like native resolution, and I can't really see any artifacting, even around the HUD, you know. Like, maybe there is a little bit of... no, not really. I can't really tell. So it's basically a really fast, smooth experience right now with the stutters here and there, unfortunately. Once again, even though we've been to this area already, stuttering is still happening. Yeah, UE5. But yeah, it's a flawless experience here at 1440p, basically, with the frame generation enabled, DLEA, you can keep that native resolution look, and it's still native resolution, just with FG, of course, so it's flawless at this point. And let's go ahead and try what? Should I try 1080p? I know a couple of you at least have a 1080p monitor with a 5090, so to those of you who do, here we go. Let's test it out. Here we have it. 1920 by 1080 resolution, my friendos. No frame generation and DLEA is turned on. And look at that. The 1080p GPU, my friends. 5090, 90 FPS, 80 FPS, 1080p resolution. Once again, it's all because of that ray tracing being so freaking intensive that even a $2,000 RTX 5090 or more, I know it's more sometimes in some areas of the world, yeah, it can't really achieve like 144 FPS all the way, consistently. But look at that GPU utilization, by the way. Now, it's not the GPU's fault. We are CPU bound at the moment. Yes, the CPU utilization is not at 100%, so how can it be a CPU bottleneck if the CPU is not used fully? It still is. It can be because the game is just not coded to utilize more threads or more cores than it is actually utilizing at the moment. And, well, it just goes up to like, what, 60% CPU utilization? That means that about half of the CPU, a little bit more than half, is fully utilized, and the rest of the threads are just not doing anything, basically. So with a faster CPU, oh my, with a faster CPU in terms of single core performance, hello?
It's all over, lawbreaker.
No, resist.
Then pay with your...
Okay, I will pay with my blood. Oh no, he has a ton of HP actually. I just wanted your roach. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, what is going on? Buggy mess actually. Well, I mean, it's a Bethesda game, Elder Scrolls, so of course there will be bugs. It wouldn't be an Elder Scrolls game without bugs actually, so I welcome them in this particular title. Also, it could be a RAM bottleneck issue as well. With faster RAM, it could get higher performance, but with a faster CPU in this case, it would definitely get way higher performance. Unfortunately, though, we're out of luck in that space because there's no faster CPU than 9800X3D. Maybe 9950X3D sometimes, but that's about the same CPU with an extra CCD without 3D cache, so hey. I mean, I have tested the 9950X3D in the past. It basically does what the 9800X3D does, so yeah. It's going to perform pretty much the same here. Now, look at this. Look at the stutters that we're getting. It's actually dropping from 60 FPS sometimes when stutters happen, actually. Please stop it, please. I don't want to kill you. I don't... Oh, there's a crab as well. Please fight each other. Don't fight me. But with the frame generation here at 1080p resolution, you can achieve those super high FPS, even though it's only 2 times in this game. Yeah, we're well above like 150 frames per second. It's buttery smooth of an experience. Should we help this guy? Maybe not. No, he actually got him. Okay. What is he? Oh, thank you. He's helping us. Good stuff. So the wolves are not after us anymore. Good. Okay. Anyway, so that's it for the 1080p resolution. And now let's go back to 4K, where this GPU shines the most. And let's disable frame generation as well. Okay, so we're back at ultra settings. Remember, it got like 50s, 60s, 40s sometimes. That's exactly what we're getting right now. All right, with stutters, looks so much cleaner, guys. Damn, this is crazy. Like, 4K compared to 1080p resolution is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So if you have 5090, please buy a 4K monitor if you don't have one. Even though it drops from 60 FPS in the latest titles and stuff, maximum settings, you always have DLSS and it will look perfect. I mean, DLSS performance at 4K resolution looks better than 1440p native on like a 27-inch 1440p monitor, or even 24-inch 1440p monitor. It's really good technology. I really like DLSS and frame generation. I just don't like that the developers rely on it so much. And now with frame generation, with performance DLSS, we get 160s. So yeah, really good stuff. It's actually really close to what we saw at 1080p resolution native, right? With frame generation, and also native without frame generation, it was comparable, a little bit faster, I guess, than DLSS performance here at 4K. And it makes sense because it's 1080p that it's using right now at the moment. It's just that DLSS does such an amazing job that it still looks 4K to me. But now let's go back to DLEA and disable frame generation as well as the hardware ray tracing. Alright, so this is off right now. It still uses Lumen Software RT, which you can't disable, but it's less intensive. And now I will apply that, of course, and restart the game to see what we can do. And here we have it. This is 4K native resolution with DLEA without the hardware ray tracing turned on Ultra, and with software ray tracing set to low. And this is where it's disappointing, because previously we could say, it's only getting low FPS because, well, ray tracing is turned on. What if we disable ray tracing or set it to the lowest ray tracing possible setting? Well, it still doesn't run very well, and it does have quite a bit of a difference in terms of the visuals as well. Like, that lighting looks a little bit worse at the moment, the reflections as well, especially on the sword right now. We always get flickering issues here in this particular area. It's really weird. Hello. Okay. Oh, it's a slaughterfish, so I'm glad we slaughtered him. Anyways, yeah, this is not the way to play, and this is really disappointing as well. I was expecting it to get like 80 FPS, maybe 100 FPS natively at 4K, and it's only in the 60s, so we gained, what, 10 FPS? This engine is so freaking intensive that even when Lumen is set to the absolute lowest, it still only gets you 50s and 60s and 70s at times, but I was really expecting a higher refresh rate experience here. But yeah, it is what it is, my friends. I'm standing still and things are still flickering. They really need to fix this. I hope my GPU isn't melting or something, though. That's always a concern now. Oh boy, with a 5090. Anyway, let's also try it on high settings preset. Okay, high settings preset with the Lumen stuff disabled, the hardware ray tracing and Lumen software ray tracing on low. DLEA. Okay, we're back to it. High settings preset this time around. Lumen ray tracing on low and software ray tracing as well. And in terms of visuals, it still looks really good. It's quite a lot more stable. I'm seeing less stuttering, at least so far. Okay, no, okay, never mind. It was just luck. I guess we loaded the game. It was fine for a few seconds. Then we got a massive stutter already. So yeah, it just feels smoother because it is smoother at the moment. 90 FPS or 80 FPS, 70s sometimes. Previously it was 60s and 50s and 70s. So yeah, quite a big bump in performance there. And I mean, you could utilize this if you wanted 60 plus FPS all of the time with native 4K resolution. But again, in my opinion, you should just keep everything maxed out with a 5090. You paid for his GPU, you want the most pretty graphics possible, right? And either enable quality DLSS plus FG, or just FG alone, because the input latency was still really good then, so yeah, there's no point in just lowering the graphics, in my opinion, here. Unless, again, you feel like it's more stable and it stutters a bit less, but from what I'm seeing by the 1% lows and running around here, we're still seeing a ton of frame time spikes, so yeah. But yeah, guys, 500 watts of power right now, Jesus. That's crazy. That's really high. Let's also try it with some frame generation. See if that lowers the power usage. Maybe by a little bit. Not really. Okay. But yeah, this puts us up into the 170s, 160s. And again, remember, this is still with DLEA, so native resolution. Alright, just with frame generation on top of it, of course. I think the LOD is a little bit worse here as well on high settings. I can notice a little bit of the grass and stuff, like some things are popping. What does this lead to? Oblivion Gate. You know what? Why not try it? Right? We're exploring here. So let's see. We're in hell, I guess. Oh boy, that shadow was really low quality for some reason. We're getting higher FPS here, by the way, and I guess less stutters because this is a little bit of a smaller world, I think. Yes. I like to burn myself in lava. There we go. What a cozy bath. Back here at the start, this is a really nice area to start the open world at. They've done a good job with the presentation here. Like, you got the water, you got that beautiful sunrise, you got lots of vegetation looking pretty. Yeah, it's really nice. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else to test, right? I think now we should try some 8K resolution on high settings, because maximum settings, yeah, it's not gonna happen, right? So let's just keep it on high. I'm gonna disable the DLSS Frame Gen, and I will select it in the desktop because apparently it's not showing up here. Okay, so the only way I managed to make it work at 8K resolution is by setting it to borderless mode here inside of the game and have the display resolution in the desktop at 8K. And even then, this is only showing 4K resolution, but I think it is at 8K. At least this is way smaller, which indicates that we are at a higher resolution. I'll make it bigger again, though. There we go. That's the maximum. So this is usually the maximum for 8K as well, with this size of letters that I have, or font. And we're on high settings. DLSS, yeah, it's definitely running at 8K right now. It's really jittery. Jesus, that's awful, actually. What the hell is going on? And things are flickering as well, a lot. So I guess this game wasn't really made for 8K or with 8K in mind. Like, this is so terrible. What the heck is going on? So if you're playing at this resolution, well, no, it's not gonna happen, okay? Maybe with performance DLSS it will. Let's try that out. Yes, with performance DLSS, things stop flickering. It's rendering the game at 4K and upscaling to 8K resolution. Still jittery as heck. I'm not sure if it's my monitor or my capture card at the moment. Like, I'm seeing a lot of screen tearing as well, and a huge, like, even when I get screen tearing normally outside of the G-Sync range, it doesn't look so terrible as it's looking right now. This is really bad. I mean, it is playable. It's getting 60s. Maybe with the frame generation, it will be even better. Yeah, look at that. Frame generation does work absolutely fine, even at 8K resolution, so not too bad at all. I see less screen tearing, although it's still very apparent at the moment. But I guess that's, again, just due to the capture card, probably. And we're getting a very smooth, responsive experience still. That latency is only around 40 to 50 milliseconds, so totally acceptable. And we're at a high refresh rate experience with 8K visuals, so pretty crazy stuff. Obviously, I would still keep the resolution set to 4K. There's no reason to go beyond that, but you can do it if you have a card like this on high settings. Just ultra settings is probably out of the question, though, because the baseline FPS would be pretty terrible. But yeah, this is decent, guys. Once again, but nobody plays like this, so let's just end the video right there, I guess. Thanks very much for watching it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Expect some more Oblivion benchmarks coming soon. And I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.